Morning, and welcome to another episode of Speak to Trish. This is episode 29, and today it is Thursday, so it is Transformational Thursday, and I'm going to give you a quote from Albert Einstein here, which I'm going to read because I'm not boss enough to memorize all of this, right? So he says, a human being is a part of a whole, called by us a universe, a part limited in time and space. He experiences himself, his thoughts and feelings as something separated from the rest, a kind of optical delusion of his consciousness. This delusion is a kind of prison for us, restricting us to our own personal desires and to affection for a few persons nearest to us. Our task must be to free ourselves from this prison by widening our circle of compassion to embrace all living creatures and the whole of nature in its beauty. As I said, that's by Albert Einstein. In fact, I would say to embrace all living creatures and the whole of nature in its entirety. Now, I must admit, when I was reading this to my husband, I said to him, well, I don't know about all living creatures, right? Because me and snakes just, we ain't got this thing going. But I'm going to dissect that a little bit, right? I'm going to go back to the beginning where he says a human being is a part of a whole, called by us a universe, a part limited in time and space. He experiences himself, his thoughts and feelings as something separated from the best, from the rest even. Don't we just do that? Sometimes our problem is that we are just too darn independent. And I remember some years ago working for a corporate organization, and I had to go have an operation. And I was actually waiting in the car park for my appointment because I was a little bit late. And I had a telephone call from my HR manager. And she always used to call me Jonesy. And she says, Jonesy, is your husband with you? Is Chris with you? So I said, yeah, he's right here. She said, yeah, because I know what you're like. You're so independent. But, that really hit me, right? That was going back. This must be about 14 years ago now that happened. But it was an awakening almost for me, because even the people that I worked around realized my independence, right? And, I know that there are so many, even courses and books and everything else, teaching women in particular how to be independent. You want my opinion? It's totally wrong. And I am not saying that we got to latch onto a man and we need a man in order to function. But there is a difference between being independent, because independence creates separation. Interdependence means that you are not saying, I need you for everything that I do, but it is saying that I am interdependent on you. And so let's take our environment, for example, right? I must admit, I did a little bit of a tidy of my desk this morning because it was beginning to get a little bit untidy. And I remember Wayne Dyer talking about this, that we are one with our environment. And so if you live in a place that is just constantly got junk, like my desk did this morning. Well, it wasn't junk. It was just kind of yesterday's work that didn't get put away. And my daughter sometimes comes and does her homework on here and leaves bits on my desk. The best part is when she makes anything at school and then she comes upstairs to show it to me, and then she leaves it on my desk. And then I say, Elodie, can you take this downstairs, please? Or put it somewhere, take it somewhere. And she says, oh, I made it for you. Right? That I made it for you means that you've got to keep it on your desk, because I don't want it. I don't know where to put it. So you know what? Your desk is a place for it. But our environment is where we live, and we cannot separate ourselves from our environment. Now, okay, there are places that we go that we can't do anything about the environment, right? I'm certainly not going to go clean up the streets of Bristol because people chuck their cigarette butts down or, rubbish on the streets. However, you can contribute to it by not chucking your rubbish out of the window and chucking your rubbish down on the floor. Anyway, I'm not going to preach about that today. But our environment is a huge part of who we are and who we become. And let me give you an example as well that Wayne Dyer gave, which I thought was fantastic. He talked about the ocean as being a whole, right? And that ocean on its own you can get pleasure from it. You can have animals, mammals, What are they? What are they? They're not mammals, are they? Because they're not cold-blooded anyway. The fish in the sea and everything, all the whales and that, enjoying it. You can have kids swimming in it. And in fact, the ocean can do some damage, right? If there's a storm, or, you know, if that's lashing against a house over a period of time, it can create some huge damage. But if you then grab a glass, is what he said, and you put the glass into the sea and you take out a glass of water, what you have is a part of the sea, but it's no longer a part of the whole. And so it's still seawater, right, that you have in this glass. And I'm holding it up. I suppose I could hold up my coffee cup, but it's still seawater that you have in that glass or that cup, but it is no longer as effective as it could be if it were back in the ocean and being a part of the big wide ocean. And that is us. When we withdraw, you know, and we can withdraw for a number of reasons, right? Or disconnect ourselves from, whether it's people or whether it's our environment, for so many different reasons. You know, we don't like the posse. We don't like the company. We don't like our work colleagues. We don't like. And so there's a whole host of reasons to pull ourselves away and say, I am going to be on my own. And sometimes I see this with blogging, and I've been just as guilty, right? We start blogging and we think we can blog in isolation. So we think we don't need anybody else to be promoting us. We don't need anybody else to be coming alongside of us. We don't need to know the people in our industry. We can do it on our own. But, you know, this I can do it all by myself thing, it's cute when you're young. You know, Elodie used to say when she was really, really young, you go to button her shirt, you know, when she was younger and her little fat fingers are struggling, and you go to help her and she'd go, I can do it myself. And it's really cute when they're that age. But when you start doing it when you get older and you want to tell everybody, I don't need you, I can do it by myself, I don't need input from anybody, it's actually a very, very sad state of affairs. And yes, there are certain things that we've got to do by ourselves, right, that nobody else is going to do for us. But there is strength in connection. And so I want you to think about that. I want you to ask yourself, where have I disconnected myself, whether it's from people or from an environment that I may have enjoyed once, that I've decided that I no longer have to be a part of the whole, you know, because I'm better than them, and so I can pull myself out. Where have you been doing that? And how can you get reconnected in order to make an impact? Because guess what? If we want to get our message out there, we're going to have to be more compassionate for a start, right? Albert Einstein actually said that we're living in a prison, or rather he says this delusion is kind of a prison for us, restricting us to our personal desires and to affection for a few persons nearest to us. What is our task? He says, our task must be to free ourselves from this prison by widening our circle of compassion to embrace all living creatures and the whole of nature in its beauty. Now, sometimes I'm criticized, right, that I put up with nonsense from people sometimes, and people will say, I don't understand why you put up with so-and-so. I just don't understand why, you know, you just move away. Life would be so much easier sometimes if you were just one, wouldn't it? If you only had you to contend with, you know, if you weren't married, you didn't have a husband to worry about, you didn't have children to worry about, you didn't have the house to worry about, you didn't have, you know, work colleagues to worry about. Just think about it. It's a sad existence. It's a sad existence. But you know what? You get out of anything what you are prepared to put in. So just withdrawing yourself because maybe you've been hurt, or because you don't like the posse, you don't like the company, you don't like the work environment, you don't like the work ethics. Now, I'm not saying that you stay in a situation at all costs, but there is a difference between just being disconnected from so many things than to decide where you want to be. But if we had more compassion, even whilst you're looking for a new job, if you realize that this culture really isn't for you, you would still be able to bring some input bring some compassion into a situation rather than do what we do, and I'm speaking the Brits now, you stiff upper lip, and you're not going to let anybody else get in the way and just ignore everybody else. It's not the way to strengthen either yourself or other people. I'm going to stop there. I just want you to remember one last thing. There is a difference between being independent and being interdependent, right? Don't look for independence. From now on, I want you to seek independence, because there is strength in connection. There is strength in independence. Guys, appreciate you listening. This is episode 29, and I will see you on the next episode of Speak to Trish. By the way, do go and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And also, if you're listening on iTunes, subscribe via iTunes, and tell your friends, tell other people, I need you. I'm being interdependent now, right? I'm connecting to you. I need you to spread the message about these podcasts that I'm doing. You don't have to listen to every single one of them. Dip in and dip out. Take what you need and ignore the rest. But I need you to be my evangelist. I need you to go tell people about Trish Jones and Speak to Trish. Okay, ciao, ciao for now. Bye.